People like being liked. There's a lot of dating advice that you should play it cool and pretend like you don't really like people. Who's heard that kind of advice? Okay, it's pretty standard out there. Don't return his texts, play hard to get. People actually like being liked. People like being accepted. I accept you for who you are. What are we doing in conventional dating? We're going out and finding if people are acceptable or not and rejecting them if they're not acceptable.
To our ideas.
To our mental idea of who's acceptable. People like being found attractive. Within limits. We don't like somebody who's become crazily obsessed. We don't actually, we'll talk about it later, we don't actually like to hear it in words so much. With all the Me Too and the political correctness, we don't want to go around and tell people we particularly find them attractive, but people want to know that you find them attractive. This goes against a lot of conventional dating advice also. Don't let him know you like him. Don't let her know you like her. But people actually like that, being known that you find me attractive as a sexual person and not as a neutered person. People like people who are like them. We have so much in common. So we've probably all had this experience. We don't really ride the bus anymore, but actually people on the train don't talk to each other anymore. But there's some time you've met a stranger, maybe on a plane, that's where we would do it, and you found yourself spending some time talking to somebody, and you go, wow, we had so much in common. We never are saying, I just love talking to that person. We couldn't find a single thing we had in common. That just doesn't happen, right? Okay, so to create liking with people, we find out what we have in common. This is important in dating because we want to find other people attractive. We want them to find us attractive. We want to find out what we have in common. We have a lot in common just as human beings. So there's a phrase in 12-step programs, light and polite, which I think people like people who are light and polite. Not too heavy. Sometimes maybe when we're younger we had a problem with sharing too much. Maybe we do that now. Maybe people do that with us. I've had people that I counsel who want to get everything on the table at the first meeting just in case the other person they're not their cup of tea. Most of us like people who treat life light and polite. We usually like people who have very good manners. You can deeply connect with people on a very light and superficial level. Superficially deep. You can connect someone with deeply just going, hey, how are you? And talking about, maybe not the Kardashians, but something of light relating. We'll get more into this. But generally people like that rather than people who are very heavy. People like good manners, and people really like an attitude of nothing's a big deal. So this is a big thing I learned in pickup. So I might have used to have gotten kind of irritable if a date was 20 minutes late. Well, now I would probably leave if they were that late, but it's no big deal. Okay? People prefer, with people they don't know that well, they prefer people to have an attitude of, it's not that big a deal. Rather than being very heavy. So we're just talking about what people find attractive. What do people not like? Critical, negative thinking your opinion is important. One of the biggest dating mistakes I observed over and over and over and over is people would sit down to meet each other. They say, how's the dating going? Which is a normal topic for online daters when you meet, and the other person would start negatively talking about people they've been dating. Dating's awful, I hate it, oh, I met this creep, nobody looks like their picture. In this room, we can all agree that that sounds terrible, but it is so prevalent. How does that make that person look who's acting that way? Very unattractive. Okay? They get into telling you, I want to tell you stories, putting down other people. Thinking your opinion is important. You can certainly have your opinions, but people don't find it. It's very interesting to me to think this, because I grew up thinking my opinion was important and you shouldn't voice your opinion, and I found out there's places for that and places not for that. You probably already know this. I didn't really know it, but I want to go over the basics in case we're filling in some blanks for some of you. Okay? So, especially if we're smart, we have interesting opinions, we really want to bring those out. But in the beginning, when we're just trying to get along with human beings, that can be very polarizing.